Maybe get a cup of coffee, and I'm going to read to you one of my favorite personal essays from Mindy Kaling. And we can look at it, and I'll read it aloud to you, and then I'll kind of talk about some of the things that are happening in the essay that I think are really strong and that you might use for your final reflection as well. So to get to it, you just go to Blackboard to Unit 4, and you can download the reading. This is from her book, Is Everyone Hanging Out Without Me and Other Concerns, which is just hilarious. Mindy Kaling, if you don't already know her, she is a TV writer. She's also an actress, so she starred in her own TV series called The Mindy Project, which was on Hulu. It's a really great show. And she also was one of the stars in the hit show The Office. So this particular essay is called Don't Peak in High School. And as you can already tell, she has a very specific audience, and she talks about that here in her first sentence, where she says, sometimes teenage girls ask me for advice about what they should be doing if they want a career like mine one day. So that's basically what her whole piece is going to be about, talking to people who ask, how do I get to do what you do? So I'll go ahead and read, and then I'll end the discussion in some things that I think are just strong writer's moves. She writes, sometimes teenage girls ask me for advice about what they should be doing if they want a career like mine one day. There are basically two ways to get where I am. One, learn a provocative dance and put it on YouTube. Two, convince your parents to move to Orlando and homeschool you until you get cast on a kids show. Or do what I did, which is three, stay in school and be a respectful and hardworking wallflower and go to an accredited non-online university. Teenage girls, please don't worry about being super popular in high school or being the best actress in high school or the best athlete. Not only do people not care about any of that the second you graduate, but when you get older, if you reference your successes in high school too much, it actually makes you look kind of pitiful, like some babbling old Tennessee Williams character with nothing else going on in her life. What I've noticed is that almost no one who was a big star in high school is also a big star later in life. For us overlooked kids, it's so wonderfully fair. I was never the lead in a play. I don't think I went to a single party with alcohol at it. No one offered me pot. It wasn't until I was 16 that I even knew marijuana and pot were the same thing. I didn't even learn this from a cool friend. I gleaned it from a syndicated episode of 21 Jump Street. My parents didn't let me do social things on weeknights because weeknights were for homework and maybe an episode of The X-Files if I was being a good kid. X-Files was on Friday night, and on extremely rare occasions, I could watch Seinfeld Thursday, a school night, if I just aced my PSATs or something. It's easy to freak out as a sensitive teenager. I always felt I was missing out because of the way the high school experience was dramatized on television and song. For every realistic My So-Called Life, there were 10 90210s or a Party of Fives, where a 20-something Luke Perry was supposed to be just a typical guy at your high school. If Luke Perry had gone to my high school, everybody would have thought, what's the deal with this brooding greaser? Is he a narc? But that's who Hollywood put forth as just a dude at your high school. In the genre of making you feel like you're not having an awesome American high school experience, the worst offender is actually a song. John Cougar Mellencamp's Jack and Diane. It's one of those songs, like Eric Clapton's Tears in Heaven, that everyone knows all the words to without ever having chosen to learn them. I've seen people get incredibly pumped when this song comes on. I once witnessed a couple request it 4 times in a row at Johnny Rockets and belt it while loudly clapping their hands above their heads. So, apparently, it is an anthem of some people's youth. I think across America, as I type this, there are high school couples who strive to be like Jack and Diane from that song. Just hanging out after school, making out at the Tasty Freeze, sneaking beers into their cars, without a care in the world. Just two popular, idle, all-American white kids having a blast. The world created in Jack and Diane is maybe okay. Charming because, like, alright, that kid Jack is going to get shipped off to Vietnam, and there was going to be a whole part 2 of the story when he returned as some traumatized, disillusioned vet. The song is only interesting to me as the dreamy first act to a much more interesting Born on the 4th of July type story. As it is, I guess I find Jack and Diane a little disgusting. As a child of immigrant professionals, I can't help but notice the wasteful frivolity of it all. Why are these kids not home doing their homework? Why aren't they setting the table for dinner or helping out around the house? Who allows their kids to hang out in parking lots? Isn't that loitering? I wish there was a song called Win and R.E., a little ditty about a hard-working Vietnamese girl who helps her parents with the franchise Holiday Inn they run and does homework in the lobby, and R.E., a hard-working Jewish boy who does volunteer work at his grandmother's old age home, and they meet after school at Princeton Review. They help each other study for the SATs and different AP courses, and then, after months of studying and mountains of flashcards, they kiss chastely upon hearing the news that they both got into their top college choices. This is a song teens need to inadvertently memorize. Now that's the song I'd request at Johnny Rockets. In high school, I had fun in my academic clubs, watching movies with my girlfriends, learning Latin, having long, protracted, unrequited crushes on older guys who didn't know me, and yes, hanging out with my family. I liked hanging out with my family. Later, when you're grown up, you realize you never get to hang out with your family. You pretty much have only 18 years to spend with them full time, and that's it. So yeah, it all added up to a happy, memorable time, even though I was never a star. Because I was largely overlooked at school, I watched everyone like an observant weirdo, not unlike Eugene Levy's character, Dr. Alan Pearl, in Waiting for Guffman, who, quote, sat next to the class clown and studied him. But I did that with everyone. It has helped me so much as a writer. You have no idea. I just want ambitious teenagers to know it is totally fine to be quiet, observant kids. Besides being a delight to your parents, you will find you have plenty of time later to catch up. So many people I work with, famous actors, accomplished writers, were overlooked in high school. Be like Alan Pearl. Sit next to the class clown and study him. Then grow up, take everything you learned, and get paid to be a real-life clown, unlike whatever unexciting thing the actual high school class clown is doing now. The chorus of Jack and Diane is, "Oh yeah, life goes on, long after the thrill of living is gone." Are you kidding me? The thrill of living was high school? Come on, Mr. Cougar Mellencamp. Get a life. Alright guys, what I love about this personal essay is that we have this person, Mindy Kaling, who is just absolutely famous. I mean, so let me just, y'all gotta see her. She is hilarious. So here's her picture, right? She's a comedian, but she's also a writer, and she's written so much for television. She's just absolutely amazing. And what she's doing, it's kind of like Shitty First Drafts with Anne Lamott. She's telling us, look, I was not this person for most of my life. For my young life, I was not a star. She says I was never a star. She says she liked her family. She said that she was a child of immigrant professionals and that she used her nights doing homework and helping set the table for dinner, etc. And so what she's doing is really bringing this piece down to earth and giving this concrete advice about don't feel like you have to peak in your youth. Don't feel like life has to be a certain way in order for you to have lived it fully as a young person. And what you can do as you consider your own final reflections for this is you can write it to a specific audience. And so what you might do is write to high school students about the first year experience and about all those things that probably really mislead people about how college is supposed to be. For instance, she talks about like watching 90210 and Party of Five as a kid, with Luke Perry and being like this typical high school guy, and ultimately that's not what high school was like. Think about what you thought college was going to be like. And then what was the reality of it, and then write that down to an audience of people who need to know, because they are still being really misled with how pop culture represents college life. So the other thing that's great about Kayling's piece is just the humor. Okay, she's so funny. She gives us these little anecdotes. I love this piece. My favorite piece of the essay is here, this little ditty about Win and RE, right? So she's really playing with this idea of Jack and Diane, and how they're just normal kids. You know, Win helps her parents out around their hotel, and RE volunteers at his grandmother's old age home. And, you know, that's sort of a reality for a lot of people. It isn't what we see on television, right? So hopefully you got something out of this, and like I said, feel free to use some of this as you consider your own reflection. And don't forget to get back into the blog space today, and it's on our calendar. You want to comment on advice that you would give to high school students who will transition to college in the fall, right? What would you tell them to prepare them? So I will talk to you all later. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.